be blessed by the divine. வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். Good evening, friends. I welcome all for today's guest lecture by our senior professor Balachandran sir. I'm sure you all know him very well, but even then I would like to give a small introduction about Balachandran sir. So, Ayya, வாழ்க வளமுடன், be blessed by the divine. So, Balachandran sir has been in Sky Yoga past 30 years, and he and his wife, Jayanti Balachandran Ma, they have traveled the world, across the world, opened many centers, and with their selfless service, spreading Vethathiri. That is the only goal. And of course, world peace. That is the dream of Maharishi. So, husband and wife, both professors, they have been in Sky Yoga, and they're the reason for opening up many centers in the world. So, I, on behalf of Sky Online Group Meditation, extend a warm welcome, Ayya. Thank you so much for coming today. So, today he is going to talk about world peace. So, here you go, Ayya. Thank you so much. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Thank you very much. May the whole world enjoy prosperity, happiness, and peace. May we all be blessed with good health, long life, prosperity, wisdom, and peace. My humble pranams to all the participants. Thanks to Sunandaji for a very generous introduction. Today, the topic which has been given is no more wars in the world. Is it possible? Yes, definitely. Now, this appears to be a very hyped statement, isn't it? Right now, we are seeing the war in Europe between Russia and Ukraine. More than 3 months, more than 100 days has gone. And still, the whole world is impotent to do anything at all. And we don't know how long it's going to continue, or even if it is stopped. But at some point of time, wars have to stop. They're not able to proceed further. But even if the war comes to a stop, for whatever reason, it doesn't mean peace is established there. From that very moment when they sign a document that war is coming to an end, from that very moment, both the parties, the winner and the loser, they are preparing to have more arms, more armaments, so that next time they will not lose the war. So a cessation of war anywhere in the world does not mean peace is emanated. What they are doing is preparing for the next war. So that is not peace. So what exactly is peace? Peace is, can we live with total freedom without being frightened of any group or any power, and achieve whatever is the goal of human life, where people can live in harmony? In fact, International Yoga Day is coming on 21st. Thanks to our Prime Minister who has initiated it. But what is yoga? Yoga doesn't mean that you just stand upside down or do some gymnastics, physical exercises. Asana is just one portion of yoga. Can you be in harmony with yourself, with your body, mind, and soul? Can you be in harmony with others in the society? Can you be in harmony with your family at the place of work and with the whole world? And can society be in harmony with nature? That is yoga, that is Mahayoga, isn't it? Are we anywhere near that? And if so, and if not, all these things will keep happening. Economic deprivation will be there, political disturbances will be there, wars will continue, cold wars will be there, hot wars will be there. Constant skirmishes between neighboring countries, between opposite political concepts or religious. Again, we are seeing everywhere. Religion has become a great problem everywhere. Religion is supposed to bring peace, but that very same religion is creating problems. Nothing wrong with the religions, the way we've understood them. So there's a lot of things which we have to transform ourselves. But right now, what is most important is, can we stop all the wars permanently? It's a very sad state of affairs that if there's a fight between me and my neighbor, in that case, I can't take a stick or he can't take a stone and fight with each other. And that used to happen in jungles when we were tribals. But today, in a civilized society, we can't take up arms. What we have to do is to go to the police station or go to the court. So there is a legal system, isn't it? So that is where we are supposed to represent. And there's a judicial system, there's a legal system, and that will be discussed and a solution will be given, and whatever the court decides is final. Similarly, if there's a fight between two villages, there is a different level of court where the same thing will be done. Like that, there are levels of courts, High Court, Supreme Court. The highest level where the Supreme Court of each country. So that is a civilized society. While this has been accepted and it is followed everywhere in the world, but what is happening at the highest level between countries when there is a problem, whatever be the reason, economic, political, or borderline, but there, what happens? It is might. Might is right. Whoever is a strong man, so he dictates terms. So he can kill people in thousands and no questions are asked. And that has been a law of jungle which has been going on. So what we are seeing is, at the highest level, we behave like animals. Animals will be ashamed. Even animals don't eat just like that. They will be ashamed of what we are doing at the highest levels. And that seems to be perpetuating. A tribal person at a tribal level, it's okay, hitting with stones or hitting with hands, not much of a loss. But today, science has given tremendous power to all of us. Because of science, we have progressed in the last 400, 500 years phenomenally. Our life has become much, much easier. But at the same time, the power of destruction given by science is phenomenal. Just a few people with nuclear power can totally eradicate humanity or the living beings on the earth. That is possible. So it's become must that no more wars should be had. And anytime these wars which are happening can become a world war. Einstein was asked this question: who will win the Third World War if there's a Third World War? And Einstein replied, I don't know who will win the Third World War, but the Fourth World War will be fighting with stones. Because with the Third World War, the whole humanity would have lost everything. So we'll once again start as barbarians. So that is exactly the situation today. And we are seeing skirmishes in Europe, anywhere, everywhere across the world. There are border disputes, there are power struggles, and more countries are having nuclear power. And many of them secretively. Intercontinental ballistic missiles are there. The powers are increasing every day. So what do we do? How can we stop? It is a must now. So how do we do that? So Maharishi has brought out a beautiful plan. So similarly, just like the legal system, right from the beginning up to the country, national level. Suppose there are two problems between two different states. Then the states go to the Supreme Court and they give a judgment. And the states in a country have to follow it. The reason being, each state government does not have an army. There's only an Indian army. There's only US army. There's only a Russian army. There are no provincial armies within a country. So the different states cannot fight among themselves just because they don't have an army with them. So now that we can't have wars within a country, similarly between countries, if the war should not be there, or the war has to be stopped permanently, what is required is, can we have a Supreme Court at the international level, an international court of justice? So if there's a problem between on borders or whatever, the two countries can go to the International Court of Justice, and just like the Supreme Court at the national level, they can give a judgment, and that decision should be binding on both the parties. So is it possible or not? In fact, about 100 years back, exactly 100 years back, we could not have thought of sovereign countries coming together. Each country could become a mega power, but there was no alliance for peace. It is a League of Nations in the year exactly 100 years back, 1990. A League of Nations was formed. So for the first time in human history, sovereign states came together in order to maintain peace. Of course, League of Nations failed. The concept was okay, but the way it was implemented was not all right. There was no binding this thing on them. And so that led to the Second World War. But the League of Nations has given us some, we learned from that experience. And so the United Nations organization was formed in 1945, even before the war was over. So many of the flaws of the League of Nations were rectified in the United Nations organization. And today we have 193 countries as members of the United Nations. So why not the United Nations itself become something like a super government, world government? And we have a Security Council as well. What's the Security Council's job? Is to provide security to the countries by the very name. But with the Security Council in place, are we able to give security to each nation? Unfortunately not. This is the main drawback in the present United Nations organization. The Security Council not able to provide security to any country, any member. So that is why a NATO is formed. That is why a Warsaw Pact was there. That is why there was non-aligned movement with SARC. There's so many small or regional level alliances. But any regional alliance will not bring peace forever because it is not covering the entire world. So both Russia and Ukraine have got logic behind the wars. Ukraine says that I have not started the war, so he is aggressor. Whereas Russia is going to say it is a NATO which is enhancing its power around me. So I have to take some steps. So even a powerful NATO is not able to stop the war because nuclear powers are there and it can be used. And when somebody is forced to one corner, they may do anything. So one leader can totally disseminate the world. And so importantly, we are all looking at it without knowing what to do. So with all the armaments, they are not able to stop the war. And each country is spending so much on the wars. And still we find that is inadequate. So what is required is, just like what we have done right up to the national level, just extend it to the international level. Just one more step. And that is, instead of each country having a separate army, if that can come under the United Nations or even on a temporary basis. I know countries will not be readily accepting this, but having seen that any amount of spending on defense or offense is not helping the cause of any country, then it has to come to the awareness of everyone, the consciousness that there must be an alternative, and an alternative is provided by Vethathiri Maharishi. So on an interim, he gives an interim plan. So in an interim plan, say for 5 years, that the world, the armies of all the countries come under the control of the United Nations organization, which is a representation of the entire world. And they will be solely responsible for using that. So individual countries will not have armies. It will be under the control of the United Nations organization. If that is done, wars cannot happen between countries because they just don't have armies. And if this is accepted even for an interim period or a few years, then we have a Security Council which with the teeth and the nails. Now today it is toothless, nailless. And so it's become a puppet. Nothing is, they just, UNESCO is not able to, UN was not able to do anything at all. And then we also have, we don't have to invent another Supreme Court. We have an International Court of Justice. A beautiful arrangement has been placed, has been set up. All that is required is give some power to them. So there is an International Court of Justice. So between Ukraine and Russia, or between India and Pakistan, or India, China, or Iran or Iraq, or between any two countries, if there is a borderline problem, both of them can represent, and the International Court of Justice, whatever decision is taken, if that is made final, then forever these problems will not arise at all. So the consciousness of the humanity has to rise that this has to be done, can't be postponed, or it can't be just wished away. The more we delay, we are all digging our own graves. Exactly what Vethathiri Maharishi said on one day. He said that if humanity does not mend its ways, universal might will teach a lesson. As an intuition is, on the same day evening, we saw that the 2000, what's it called, September 11, that happened. But we didn't learn any lesson from that. So that is why we are seeing more and more of these things. So if the countries come together and if a proposal is placed in the General Assembly by any of the heads of the government, and if this proposal is accepted by the United Nations, from that day, the wars will be stopped permanently. It is possible. And once, but how the expenditure is going to be met? Whatever the present governments are spending on armed forces, they will continue to spend. But then we will not be requiring such a huge army because there will be no wars at all. So 90% of the expenditure on the military force, they all can be made use of for developing the backward regions, backward countries, backward areas, provide basic education, basic health, basic drinking water facilities, food facilities. These things can be done. So then within a matter of few years, you will find that all the 17 goals of United Nations organization, that's sustainable goals, they all can be easily achieved just by this one amendment or one change in the world. So, and if it can be extended for another 5 years, if it's all agreed upon. So maybe in a matter of 10 or 15 years, the whole world can see what a big change is happening to humanity. We don't have to die and go to the heaven. The heaven would have come to the earth. All fundamental problems can be solved. So there will be no illiteracy. Education system can be totally modified to suit the present day world. Social transformation is possible. And once these things are seen, then we can have a permanent world government can be set up. We can have a world human rights constitution. And if that human rights constitution is ratified, then we can have a world government. a world legal system where we all become citizens of the world. Today, I'm a citizen of a country, but country itself is an artificial model. For example, if somebody is born in Dhaka, if he is born now, he is a Bangladeshi. But between 47 and 1971, he would have been a Pakistani. Earlier, he would have been Indian. Or before that, he must be one of the colonies of Britain. So all these lines are artificial lines drawn by us. In fact, nobody can own a land, because whatever you have produced only you can own. But nobody has produced this world, nobody has produced so nobody has a right, isn't it? But we are not able to accept that. But that's the fact. That is the truth. So if we accept that we don't belong to a particular nation, we belong to the world. We are all world citizens. And so you can, just like within a country, you can travel anywhere without visa, you can work anywhere. The same thing, in fact, in European Union, it is already done. The countries which were in war, they had formed a union, and today people in those countries can go work anywhere. So the same thing, why not we extend it to the whole world? So then we all become world citizens and a world government, international court of justice, a security council, and then we have an economic and social ECOSOC, economic and social council. They are supposed to bring out social and economic changes. And what is economics? Economics is, we have basic needs. Every living being requires food, water, shelter, clothing, life partners. So all these things, if the people don't get it the right time, then a human development cannot take place. That individual is not fully flowering, and he or she will be a burden on the society. So economics is to provide all these things. And a political system is to see that the economics functions well. A legal system is placed. So a transformed political system, a transformed economic system, which instead of being on competition, can it be in cooperation? So if this attitude in economics comes about, an understanding that we're all brothers and sisters of the same world, and which is true also, we all descended from the same antiquity. If you see, we must have started from some human being. So we're all brothers and sisters, just accepting these facts. If there are differences between us, it is because we were living in different countries, different environmental conditions, different areas. And so because of that, because of the climatic variations, things available, our way of living has become different. That's all. But today, the whole world is connected because of fast transportation, because of advancement of science. Today, there can be a world culture. So if that comes about, and as human beings, if we take a slight cultural, this twofold moral code, I will not harm anybody. To the extent possible, I'll help others. If these two principles are practiced by all of us, there cannot be a war. You cannot offend anyone. I mean, you cannot offend anyone. So we can all live in a beautiful world just by slight modifications in our way of living and bringing this into action. So this will be our endeavor as World Community Service Center members. Maharishi calls us as World Peace Ambassadors. So if these ideas are brought about in various forums, right up to the UNO, this would definitely be accepted by everyone, because this is exactly what we all want. But we think it's a dream, it cannot be achieved. It is possible. And the alternative is the whole humanity will be decimated. So these are the only two possibilities. And so let better sense prevail. Maharishi has given the whole thing in the World Peace book, and he has followed it up with a number of books. And the last one being Vethathiri, the 14 Principles for World Peace. So what are the changes required? He has given that. And almost at the very fag end of his life, in the year 2002, we had a World Peace Conference in aliyar itself. So we already submitted that to the United Nations organization. So if that can be made to work, if it is made to discuss in the UN forums and other forums, so the solutions are there on the table. What is required is, can we make people realize this, discuss this? And then definitely wars can be stopped, not just a single war, can be stopped permanently from the face of the earth. It is possible and it is definite. So maybe with this, I will conclude this session. We'd like to have, we can have interactions on these points, definitely. So